Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Simply Done Concierge. If you need to be in two places at once, folks, Simply Done Concierge team is there for you. While you are out doing what you need to do, we will help you get done what you need done. Dog sitting, meal prep, packing, unpacking, stuff like that. You'll go to simplydoneconcierge.com. Tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Each week on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and the surrounding towns have 33 chapters and about 570 members. And our goal each week is to help our fellow members grow their business. Our local small business success story this week is Caitlynne Honor, co-owner with her husband of Honor Roofing. Caitlynne is in a core group, which is a group of folks that want to start their own BNI chapter. It's called Carpex. They meet every Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning at the the Keller Williams Legacy office in Apex. So if you're out that way, you live out that way, you know somebody trying to start or grow a business, wonderful group of professionals trying to get their own BNI chapter off the ground. And Caitlin, good morning. How are you today?
Doing well, Mike. How are you?
Doing good. How's business ownership with your husband, Cameron? No problems, no nothing when a husband and wife get together, right?
No, not at all. We always see 100% eye to eye.
Because he's a smart man, right?
Yeah.
All right. I like that. Caitlin also is an author, which we're going to get to because wonderful stories there. But we want to give some roofing tips, folks. So it's middle of summer, it's rainy season, and there's potential stuff coming up behind that. I never like to mention that word, but you
Yeah.
never know if they come this way. But Caitlin, none of us homeowners, renters, we never think about our roof, do we?
No, most people don't until it becomes a problem. The biggest thing I like to say is when you are after all of that kind of rain, just walk around your house and look up at your ceilings. You'd be surprised at how many people don't do that on a regular basis. So look up at your ceilings and see if you see any drips that are coming through, any tiny little stains. That'll kind of help you know that there's something going on up further. Another thing that we do is we like to take care of folks' gutters, any sort of water drainage from the roof away from the house. So watch outside when it's raining and make sure that your gutters are not overflowing at the base, that they're actually draining, that they're not spilling over the sides. We actually noticed that at our house, one of these 2 or 3 days ago, when we had a really bad rainstorm, we noticed outside our house that one of our gutters was clogged at the very bottom where it goes into the ground, into that French drain, and it was spilling out over the side and water was penetrating into the foundation. So it's really important to kind of watch that and make sure that that's not happening.
Water and wind will go wherever they want to, no matter what barriers we set up or directional help we give them, they will go. And one of the things back to the gutters that we don't really look for is when the gutter comes apart from the roof, and that water then can run inside the house.
It can, yeah, and there's some protective levels that you can have. So there'll be something called drip edge. It's a little aluminum piece, L-shaped piece that'll go on your eave to kind of protect wind-driven rain mainly from blowing in under that edge of your shingle line. And so it does help with that water penetration. But yeah, making sure that your gutters stay attached to your house is huge because they can get back in behind and rot your fascia and your siding.
The other thing we know we have, but we have no idea if they work unless we go outside during a rainstorm, is our downspout. We know it's probably connected to the gutter. We know it comes out at the ground,
Mhm.
but sometimes they're not pointed to where they're supposed to be pointed, are they?
No, they're not, or they will be pointed away from the house. However, they're not a they're you need more connection. You need more of a lead to get it further away from your home.
Yep.
So just because it's pointed out at the bottom and it's pointing away from your foundation doesn't mean the water isn't pooling there and traveling back towards your house. And so if you have any questions as far as if your drainage system is looking okay, that's something that we can look out for you. Take a look and just say, hey, you do need some more help here, or this is fine. This will totally suffice in keeping your foundation or your basement dry.
Can I assume you are not afraid of heights?
I am a little. It's actually good to be a little fearful. It keeps you safe. Um, it's not my favorite thing. Climbing on roofs is dangerous. So, and we're both very well aware of that. And so I think it's good to have a healthy fear because that means you're going to be careful. You'll be safe. You'll take the precautions needed to do it safely.
We know that a lot of business owners will try to sell you a package of whatever it is, whether you need it or not, because that's what they're there to do.
Yeah.
I've heard stories before where roofers will show up at a house. Oh, yeah, we flew our drone over your roof and you need a whole brand new roof. And that's not, they may be right that particular day, but that's not enough information to get to figure out if you need a new roof, right?
It can be. It just depends. We like to climb on roofs. We
Yep.
like to look at them with our eyes. It's really difficult to see things like hail damage with a drone. And however, we always say that a drone is something. It's a tool that we have in our toolbox, right next to like our hammer and our screwdrivers, so that if there's ever a roof that's got granule loss, so the shingles are crumbling and they're old, it's super dangerous to walk on. And we prefer, if it's something that's really, really steep that we cannot safely climb, or if there's a lot of granule loss that makes it slippery, we don't climb those roofs out of safety. And so we will fly our drone in those instances and get a basic overview of what's going on. And if need be, come back with better safety features to safely climb and get a better look.
When we walk up into our attic, it's usually for storage only. A, I don't know what's up there, or B, I know it's up there. I just don't know what box it's in. That's generally
Right.
the only reason we pull down the ladder. How often should we go up there and look for water?
That's a great question. I would say, once every 3 months, if once a quarter, just hop up there and take a look around. The biggest problem areas that folks are going to see are going to be around what we call your roof penetration. So anywhere where you've got an HVAC line or a plumbing line or anything coming out of your roof, folks have attic fans or turtle vents, any of that kind of stuff. That tends to be where your water is going to be getting in, and you'll be able to see that in your attic. You'll be able to see where it leaves your roof sheathing, and you'll be able to see water standing around that area. And so once a quarter, just hop up there and just look up, take a look around, and see if you see anything that looks weird, looks bad.
We should put that on our to-do list, just like changing air conditioner vents, which
Your filter, yeah.
filters. I think I did a couple of months ago, maybe. Yeah, and it's like, no. Then
Yep.
you look back, it's like, oh my, June of last year. Time flies.
Oh yeah.
But the attic is just it's total storage. It serves no other purpose other than when some again, we generally people think we only need to call you when it's too late,
Right.
which technically sometimes is correct, but we need to be a little bit smarter, especially since that's our biggest investment is a home.
Right. Right. It really is. It protects literally everything inside your home. And we like to tell people, if your roof is over 10 or 12 years old and you haven't had somebody just look at it, let us come out and look at it. We are not in the business of selling people folks something that they do not need. That's if you don't need a new roof, if you don't need anything from us, that's fine. We're not going to try to force something on you. And so getting professional eyes to take a peek at it and put little fixes on things that can become big problems, that's really important.
If we see 3 or 4 or 5 shingles missing, could that be a problem?
Oh yeah, big time. Big time. Your shingles are the outermost layer. There are other layers underneath as well that help protect, but you're taking away your most important layer that's going to keep water out of your roof system.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'll get to that later. It's only 3. How bad could it be? It's like, well,
Right.
yeah. You
Exactly.
just answered your own question right there with so how did you and Cameron get to this point of opening your own business?
Well, it's a long story actually. So Cameron is his education is in outdoor recreation. And while there's a lot of passion behind that, there's not a lot of it's hard to earn a living and not like a good living that way and to support yourself. And he started with another company that is actually no longer in business and realized he's quite good at construction and trade and talking to people and making those connections. And slowly but surely realized, you know what, I do want to do this. I really love it. It's a passion. I want to open up my own business. And I'm actually a molecular biologist by education. Also something I don't use. I was a vet tech for a very long time, and then opened up a bookstore. And so I have the back end experience of owning that bookstore. It's definitely different than a roofing company, but a lot of the principles are the same. And when I left my bookstore, we just talked about it and decided let's jump in with both feet and open up our own roofing company. And it's been awesome. It's been great.
On the good side or the bad side, what's the thing you learned the quickest about being business owner?
You don't really get any off time. Like you can take vacation, your phone is always you need to be okay with that. You need
Yep,
to be okay with no matter what is going on that you could receive a phone call from a customer, from somebody that works for you, anything. And you've got to be okay with that. And luckily we both are. Like we want to build our business and that's important to us. So we're always on.
I always like to ask husband-wife business owners, after 6 o'clock on a workday, what do you talk about? But more importantly, who breaks the tie?
Who breaks the tie?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Um, oh gosh, we talk about all kinds of stuff. So we both love the outdoors. He's a big whitewater kayaker, so especially with all this rain, we tend to talk about water levels and that kind of thing. We have 3 dogs. We talk all about them a lot, and family and vacations and stuff like that. It's really not hard for us to turn off roofing when we need to,
Uh,
but we talk a lot about growth and next steps, and are we going to go with this person to help us with marketing, or that kind of thing. We enjoy talking business.
who's more li before right before bedtime, who's more likely to, "Ooh, let me just check a couple of emails."
Probably Cameron, honestly. I feel like before bed I want to read a book
Yeah,
or just mindlessly scroll on my phone, and he's more likely going to, last night he was posting on Nextdoor
yeah,
in our neighborhood saying, with all that rain, let me know if you guys need anything. And so he was
yeah.
doing that right before bed.
Well, good, right.
Yeah.
That's a good, division of labor for who does what, right? I like
Right,
that.
exactly.
Alright, so you are known as Caitlynne Garland in the children's book world,
I
right?
am,
Alright.
yes.
It will always stay that way? That's your maiden name?
It is my maiden name, and I think it will, just because my first book was under Garland,
Yep.
and I find it's easier to not have to categorize myself in different ways. And so I think it will always be Garland.
Alright, so let's work back from the beginning. You've got, if I counted right, on your website, you've got 5 books, plushes, you've got stickers, you got all kinds of cool things, but so, look, how far back did you want to write a book?
Honestly, 2019, it's really not that far back. I've always had a passion for books. I was an avid reader as a kid growing up, and if I could stop in at a bookstore wherever I traveled, that's what I did. But writing one was never a huge. It was never really a goal of mine. And I got River, and first book is River the Three-Legged Dog, and he's is a real dog. He's my real pet, and he's just an amazing dog in general, but also he's a good inspiration. And a friend of mine and I wrote the story and had another friend illustrate it, and it just sort of kind of kept going. It got this momentum and it went really well, and people loved that book. And this happened towards the end of 2019, and getting to go to schools and having book signings and meeting all of these great kids and just building those relationships with tiny humans is just great. And then 2020 hit, and so COVID kind of stopped me from doing that. But I realized how much I enjoyed the whole process, writing and illustrating, and then just meeting folks, that I wanted to keep doing it.
You when you had the idea of writing the book, and you guys have 3 dogs, Milo, Rory, and River, correct?
Correct.
Alright, so your first book, River, the three-legged dog, you had what came first, the topic and kinda how the what the book's gonna be about, or the title?
I think they were kind of simultaneous. I mean, we knew we were writing a story about River, and easiest little his easiest nickname is River the three-legged dog, right? That's just it just flows really well. And we knew the story was going to be about him. At that time, I only had River and Rory, um, and it just made sense for it to be River the three-legged dog. That was I don't know if that answers your question.
Mhm. Yep. And that was just about overcoming?
It is, yeah, it's believing in yourself, and just because you look different on the outside doesn't mean you're not just like everyone else on the inside. You can do whatever you set your mind to. It's like always believe in yourself kind of story.
You're writing the book, you're getting it illustrated, it's being printed, published, out there, all that good stuff. What kind of "Ooh, how's this gonna turn out? Will it be received like we want it to be?" Kinda thoughts going through your head at that point.
Oh, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. So River's book was so well received. I My second book, Milo the Brave, was still very well received. Folks loved it, but not as much as River. And I think because River was such a I at that time I owned a bookstore, and he was forever there in the bookstore on social media. Like he was a presence. And when I did Milo's book, it was after COVID, and he didn't go to the bookstore very much. He didn't have a whole lot of a presence out there, and so it was still well received, but not quite as much as River's book. So it was a little bit of a humbling experience, to be perfectly honest.
So River, the three-legged dog, was your Stairway to Heaven original song, and then you try to follow that up, right?
Exactly, exactly.
What's the difference between co-authoring and writing a book by yourself?
When you write a book by yourself, you can take ownership for the whole story and all the mistakes that go with it. So anything that you miss along the way is that it might be better to have somebody take another look at. You missed that. But it is great because you have full creative control as well, and I really enjoy that, being able to make it what vision that I have in my head.
Is your long-term plan to continue to do both, write and roof?
Yep, that is the plan. The writing is a passion, and if it could pay all the bills and make us the next Eric Carle, that would be great. But it does what it does, and it pays for itself, so that's great. I like being able to be able to continue to do it.
When you first got the book out and you're doing autographs or just you're at the school meeting people or wherever you are, what were some of the comments you got that really got to you?
Because really, from a lot of kids, I think kids tend to relate a little bit better to animals. I don't quite know the logic behind it, but they can see themselves in a character, regardless of if it looks like them or not. They can see themselves in that character, and every single kid in the world has had that moment of being bullied, or I don't think I'm good enough to do this, or something along those lines. And it's them having a story that says, "Don't worry about all of that. You can do anything you set your mind to." It's really great. And one of my favorite fans is not really a fan of mine. He's a fan of River. His name is Jackson, and it's awesome. I met him first back in 2019 when the book first came out, and we still see each other on a semi-regular basis. Anytime I have a new book, or if I do a signing, like they come out and see me. It's really great. He is I'm not going to remember his age at the moment, but he has spina bifida, and he is just such an awesome kid. Like he's just been the amount I've been able to watch him grow over the past several years has just been amazing. And it's relationships that make it all worth it, that are just amazing. And he really latched on to River's story when he first read it, and it just like I said, it's just one of those relationships that you make that really makes all the hard work and all the struggle and all of that really worth it. That you can mean something like that to a little boy like Jackson.
And on a personal note, when you meet folks that are going through just, I mean, some really difficult stuff, either it can be cured or it can't, and they have a positive attitude. I always feel like crap when I'm complaining about something really
Oh,
stupid that day.
yeah, it
And just
really
got to stop yourself and go, what am I complaining about?
exactly. It really puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
And not only like his mom is just so strong and positive about the whole thing, but so is he. I mean, and it's going on in his body, and he is just happy and smiles and just, happy to be around. It's amazing.
Mm. Um, illustrators, do you know when you're writing the book, kind of what pictures you want on there? Do you tell them what to draw?
I have a general idea of what I want the images to look like. Um, Very rough sketches of what I have in my head, but I also, much like I like to have some creative say, I want my illustrators to read the manuscript and kind of take my ideas into account, but I also want them to have some of their own creative control and really put it out there and see what they feel from that story. And it's always been great. We've been able to collaborate, and they'll send something to me and I'm like, you know what, that doesn't really jive just right, or oh, that's perfect. And it's great that we can go back and forth and really partner on a project.
While we're talking about your books, people can go to CaitlynneGarland.com. And if you can tell, if you've seen Caitlin's spelling of her first name, it's a lot of letters on there.
Yep.
But it's CAITLYNNE Garland, GARLAND.com. Tell me again how so many letters got in the first name.
Oh my gosh, my mom. So she first heard the name Caitlynne on the show Miami Vice, which I've never
Nice.
watched
You
any of.
you need
So
you need to pull that up once just to appreciate that moment in time.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
And so they didn't obviously spell it that way, but that's where she got the idea of Caitlin. And my paternal grandfather, his name is Linford, and we call him Lynn. And so he's Lynn. And my mom is Michelle with an E on the end of it. And she said my name looked weird without that final E.
Yeah.
And so she decided to add the E onto it. So it just kind of kept building um, until I'm a kid that can never find a personalized
Yeah.
license plate.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah. And that name on its own is interesting because I have a niece and it's Katelyn. So it
hmm
seems like there's 100 different ways to spell your name.
there really are. Yes.
What's your middle name then? Did you get like Ann or something normal?
I got Brienne. So pretty close.
Okay.
Brienne.
Huh?
Like Brian with an extra N and an E on it.
But other than that, it's normal as all, right?
Yeah.
The goal is to write more books.
It is. Yep. I actually had a meeting with my illustrator of choice at the moment in last week, and we're gonna start working on a nonfiction series I have
Oh, cool.
starring my other dog, and we're gonna call her Ranger Rory, and it'll just be nonfiction talking about different critters in the wild.
The process itself to getting a book published. Um, because you and I told you about this the other day when we were talking about the shows. Like a lot of people, if you ask them something on their bucket list is, "Oh, I've always wanted to write a book," and like me, we
Yep.
never get around to it, right? How from not necessarily from the concept of the writing, but just literally to get it published. Is it very expensive? Is it kind of easy to do? What's that like for folks at home who've been wanting to do something like this?
Yeah, it's really not bad. You do have to in most instances, you need to buy an ISBN and a barcode. You can publish without both of those things. It just won't be as accessible. And so I highly recommend getting a barcode and getting an ISBN. And is it okay for me to say how much that costs?
Yeah.
That runs about $150
Okay.
for both of those items. And then really, if especially my expense comes in at illustrators because I want to pay fairly for the hard work that they're doing that I am not talented enough to do. And so that's where a lot of my expense comes in is when you're dealing with an illustrator. But if you're writing a novel or a memoir or even a chapter book, you don't really need a ton of illustration. You just need someone to design your cover, which you could even do on your own. You don't
Yeah.
have to hire someone to do that. So I mean, really, the process is not as expensive as it's let out to believe. The Once you have it submitted, where I go through is Ingram Spark, and they do a lot of the distribution for me. So they have it listed on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Books a Million, all the big name booksellers. They have it out there distributed for me, and so they handle the hard part as far as getting it there, and then I can go around and do local events and sell on my website and things like that.
I guess the misconception we have is back in the day, if you're writing a book, you had to go through a publisher and they hard covered everything and it was this much money. And these days with the internet and stuff, I've heard good stories about being able to do it quicker and it doesn't cost you 40,000 or 50,000, whatever the number was, that it's realistic for someone to do.
No, it can be fairly inexpensive, and then if you go the route of publishing it for a Kindle or an e-reader, it's even cheaper. And so it all
Oh,
just depends on, you want to get your story out there. You can do it in an affordable way that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg.
very nice.
Yeah.
Um, will there be a book about Cameron, your husband, eventually?
I don't know. I don't have one in the works. We'll
Ca
see.
Cameron the climber,
Yeah.
right? Climbs on
Something
roofs,
like that. Yeah.
superpower, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
my other favorite question on, the show for married couples is, how did you and Cameron meet, and do you both tell the story the same way?
We do actually. I He used to host bar trivia, and I can't exactly remember which theme he was hosting that night, but a couple of friends and I went to this bar trivia, and he was hosting, and it was right around the corner from my friend's apartment, and so we went every week. They were doing things like Gilmore Girls and Harry Potter and Friends, and those I check all those boxes. I love all those things. And so we went several weeks in a row, and I think it was the second or third week I got there before everybody, and he was getting set up, and we sat there and we chatted for 20 minutes or so and exchanged phone numbers, and then we chatted for probably 8 months before we went out on a first date. And so there was good solid foundation there.
Good, good. So who got it to a first date? Who broached that subject?
That was Cameron 100%.
Okay. And you had no problem answering yes.
No, not at all. Like I said,
Okay.
we've been talking for
Yeah.
so long. It just seemed like the natural next thing.
Alright, and where was the first date?
So, not something I would recommend if you just met the person, but we went on a canoe trip at Jordan Lake. And so, looking back on it, when I say that, that sounds super scary if you were to meet somebody that you just met to go on a first date at a lake. Um, but again, we'd had eight months of building that trust, so I didn't think it was going to be a creepy murder trip. Um, so yeah, it was a good time. We canoed around for a couple of hours and then had a drink after.
Nice.
Yep.
Alright. And at what point in time did you think, "Hmm, I believe there's something here"?
Really, honestly, not too terribly long after our first date. Like again, because we
Yeah.
built that foundation of being friends first. Probably around Christmas that same year. We were both pretty attached.
Alright, so you're on Jeopardy! Give me the 6 categories you're an expert on. You mentioned Gilmore Girls, Friends, what was the 3rd one?
Harry Potter,
Okay, give me a couple more.
dog breeds.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, that's a tough one.
What was he
Book
good at?
covers.
Yep, what was Cameron good at?
I don't know that his stuff could be quantified into trivia. I
Okay.
mean, outside of business. That would be
Yeah.
kinda boring, though.
How did your team do at
Um,
trivia night then?
Pretty good. We got first in Harry Potter and second or third, I think, in Gilmore Girls,
Alright.
and I don't remember Friends, but
Yeah.
those are big ones.
You don't see many Gilmore Girl, trivia nights anymore, do you?
You really don't, unfortunately. I mean, it went off the air in 2007, and
Yeah.
so it's they're gonna be calling it vintage soon if,
Yeah.
we don't.
Yeah, the Friends one, I think they could probably still do that today, right?
Oh, probably.
Yeah,
That's got such a following.
because 'cause they're still on TBS, it feels like 28 hours a day. Every time you
Oh,
flip
yeah.
over, look at the TV guide, it's like, "Okay."
Exactly.
And good for them. I mean, good for
Yeah,
them, so
yeah.
oh, trivia on roofing, you'd be decent at that, right?
I would be decent at it. Now Cameron would win first every time for sure.
Okay. Right. Your BNI group is looking for who? What kinda seats? Tell me about,
Um,
some industries you're looking at.
yeah, I'm looking for more trades, to be perfectly honest. We really need HVAC and plumbing, electrician, landscapers. We do have a painter that's visited, but we'd love to lock that seat in. Flooring would be great too. Really anything that goes hand in hand with home maintenance and home repair,
Okay,
fencing company, tree removal.
nice.
Those would all be great.
Alright. So that was a good segue with the tree removal into my next question. I always like to do intel on my guests, and I need to find something that really intrigues me. Not that
Okay.
authorship didn't, because I'm enamored with people that can do that. I really am. Sharpsburg, Georgia.
Okay.
All right, so I didn't know where it was till I found out where it was, and then I remembered. And I thought, well, let me just get a trivia note on Sharpsburg, Georgia. And the
Okay.
census population in 2020 was 327 people.
That can't be right.
That's what Wikipedia said, and if it's on the internet, Caitlin, you know it's right.
We had more people than that in our graduating class at
Okay,
East
I
Capital.
figured there was a typo somewhere because it considers itself in the Atlanta, metropolitan or, census area or something like that, but I
Yep.
knew it was. Now I'd heard of the high school, East Coweta High School, right?
Yep.
I'd heard of that. Never heard of Sharpsburg, but I knew 327 people probably wasn't quite right.
No, no, that's not quite right. If it's right next door to Noonan, Georgia. So we
Yep.
technically, my high school was in Sharpsburg, and I was like right on the line of Noonan and Sharpsburg. Um, but I did a lot of. There's definitely way more people than that. That's funny.
Yep.
But we had 600 or 700 people in our graduating class. So that's definitely
Mm.
a miscalculation there.
Give me the best story, a typical story of growing up in Sharpsburg, Georgia.
Well, I don't think I'm the right person to ask. We moved around a lot. Sharpsburg is just where I went to high school.
Okay.
So I spent 4 years there going to high school. And I got to be honest, the second I was 15, I was working. And so I was either in school or working. And so I don't have a ton of great stories there. But yeah, we moved around quite a bit, all around the Atlanta area because my mom worked in downtown.
Okay. I thought I was gonna hear a good redneck four-wheeler story at night with sparklers and fireworks.
Well, I do have a story of where I was thrown off of a horse into a tree. Does that
Oh,
count?
sure,
I mean,
sure.
a good friend of mine owned a little bit of land, and we constantly went trail riding. And one night there was a new girl with us, and she, not quite sure how it happened. What definitely wasn't her fault, but she fell off of her horse, spooked her horse, and then everybody started running, leaving her behind on the ground. And I can trail ride, but as far as like a race through woods, dodging trees, it's not really a thing. And so I was tossed from the horse into a tree and was knocked out for 5 to 10 minutes or so until the girl who fell off way back behind us found me.
Wow.
And so we walked back to several miles in the dark, walked back to this girl's house, pretty roughed up. And I easily have not been on a horse since.
They couldn't pay you enough, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That must,
Yeah.
a little bit scary, right?
It was very scary. Yep, but everybody made it through. The horses made it back home, so
Good.
everybody was fine.
All right. That could be another book, How Not to Ride a
Yes,
Horse, right? Or
exactly.
Training Wheels, Curb Feelers, right? Whatever you
Right.
want. So, and App State was fun going to college?
Yeah, it was great. There's a big outdoor scene up there, and so that
Uh,
was that was great to be a part of.
they have a lot of festivals in Boone, don't they?
They do. They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good community there, and it's only getting bigger as the school gets bigger.
It's a good dress up community, isn't it? For all those
Yeah.
festivals on whatever topic they're featuring that month or so.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So for people wanting to write a book,
Mhm.
what's first couple things they need to get in place or in order of what to do first and next if they want to write a book?
Write a manuscript, sit on it for a couple of weeks, read it again, and then have other people read it.
All right.
That's the biggest thing is even before you're to the step of getting it published, have people read it and give honest thought. Don't give it to somebody that's just going to say, "Yeah, it was great. That's
Yeah.
amazing." Give somebody your blunt, honest friend, give it to them and have them tell you, what's going on.
Yeah, because we all have that friend that they truly are the one person, if we need the truth on anything, we just call them. But
Exactly.
that's what you need to hear because you don't need a book that your family and friends are like, "Oh, we love Caitlin so much. I know the book will be good." No,
Right.
no,
No,
I
you
need
don't want that.
now when you say manuscript, do they have to write the whole book?
At least some of it. Like,
Okay.
have the idea out there. And one, you'll be able to see if it's going to be an idea that somebody wants to stick with or that somebody would be interested in, really is the important thing. And so you don't have to do the whole book, but it is helpful just to go ahead and have somebody read it and let you know this is amazing, it's great, or hey, here's all of these errors that I found, or this idea has some good bones, but it's
Yeah.
not fleshed out enough. You know.
Alright. And,
Or,
as an author, you certainly learned you have to take criticism, huh?
oh yeah, yeah. You got to hear the hard things.
Didn't get the book one of the books published and find a typo, did you?
The very first book, the illustrator designed the cover and spelled my first name wrong.
Ooh.
And we didn't catch it until we had the first batch of like 200 books printed and we were distributing them. So there's a first edition of River the Three-Legged Dog where my name's misspelled.
Alright, if I find that and autograph it, it'll be worth something one day, right?
There you go.
Okay, I like that. Alright, so we've been putting Caitlin's phone number up, throughout the show here, for roofing needs. Please call them. They'll come out and just look at your roof and tell you if you need something. And please, folks, go get your roof looked at. And for the authorship part of her life, CaitlinGarland.com.
Correct.
Go buy some books so she can make some more money, write some more books for everybody.
Yep.
Will we see another book by the end of 2024?
I'm hoping by the end of this year, I'll have another
Oh,
one coming out.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And we
Probably right
can,
around the holidays.
right. And all the major bookstores, we can go in and,
Oh, yep.
right.
Anywhere books are sold.
All right. So, yeah. Okay. We can do that. All right, folks. Caitlin, it's been a blast. Love the fact that you wrote a book. I kid you not. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Don't really have a topic or anything on that, but I thought it would just be cool. Have a lot of
Yeah.
admiration for authors because it's a chore and a task, and it's something in life that shows completion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun though. You should give it a shot.
Yeah, well, good. All right. Also, if you or you know somebody business minded or has a business in the Cary and or Apex area, Wednesday mornings, 8:30 a.m. at the Keller Williams Legacy office in Apex is where they
Mhm.
meet. Go meet some folks, figure out they'll be able to show you how they can help you grow your business. So, Caitlin, it's been a blast. We wish you luck with the roofing and the kids' books.
Thank you.
And we will see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nisoncommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.